Okay. We're so excited today to have the iconic Martin Storey with us. And with that, I will turn it over to Martin.
Okay. Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining me in today's event. I'm talking to you from my home in Devon in the southwest of England on a very bitterly cold day. I'm actually facing the Atlantic and I've got a gale blowing through this window, so hence a scarf and the warm jacket. And hopefully I've got the lights on because the light will be fading as we go through the presentation. So what I'm going to kick off with today is the PowerPoint presentation for Moordale 2, which is my new collection in the Moordale yarn. This is a second collection, as the name suggests, obviously, and where I've introduced 6 new colours, which I'll be talking about during the talk. And then I have actual samples to show you, just to so you can see the stitch in a bit more detail. It's a bit hard to see them on the slide presentation, and questions. And then I'm going to finish off with a little sneaky peek of my upcoming knit along, which is due to be launched in May 2021. We've literally just shot the project, so just to give you some idea of what to expect in that. So I'll sort of end up with that, but we'll try to answer questions as we go along. But once after the presentation of the slides and the garments, we'll have a bit more time to talk then. So if I could just ask Michael to get at the presentation for the Moordale 2. So I hope you can all see this. This is our this is the image on our front cover. So Moordale Collection 2, brochure of 16 designs, introducing 6 new shades, which I will talk about at the end of the presentation. So for my design inspiration for this collection, I looked at reworking a lot of traditional stitches like Guernsey stitches. As you may have guessed, knowing my love of cable iron stitches, I looked at sort of folk and traditional cross-stitch motifs for the colorway pieces, and also I've introduced a lot of slip stitch textured stripes and slip stitch mosaic patterns into this collection. You know, I think that gives a lovely feel of color work, but without the headache of you know, fur eye. I think we've got a bit of feedback somewhere in the back. Oh, it's gone now. So I wanted to, even in the plains, even in the plain styles, I wanted to add a little texture throughout. You know, just if it was a stocking stitch, a plain stocking stitch garment, I've added some texture into the trim. And as I say, I've got samples of some of these pieces to show you at the end of the presentation. So if I can ask Michael to go to the next slide for the first design. Yeah, Michael, if you could just drop down to the next picture. Okay, sorry, the one above. Yeah, that's it. So this is the design how, knitted in pepper for the magazine, which is our lovely pale silver grey colour. So this is an easy over tunic with a deep twisted rib neckline and wide elbow length sleeves. So great piece to wear over a shirt or a long sleeve t-shirt. You can see it's been styled over just a simple classic white shirt in here. Hem and cuffs of this particular design are in a cable and wiggle lace stitch, just for some added texture and detail. And the twisted rib front neck bands are both worked in with the main body. So this is what I'm trying to do more and more in design, is to actually work the main bands in with the body, so you're not having to go back and pick them up and knit them. This is a sort of top of the hip length, but obviously if you wanted it longer, you could add it into the body before the armhole shaping. So if you wanted to something that comes a little bit longer, say this is, I think, is a 23-inch length. If you wanted to make it more of 25, just add another couple of inches into the length. And similar, if you wanted longer sleeves as well, you just add some length into the sleeves. They're a wide sleeve, that's the intrinsic, so there's not too much shaping in there, so that would be quite easy to adjust.
Sorry, if we can hold on for just a minute. I'm having a little bit of technical difficulty with the PowerPoint, so just one moment quickly, and we're going to start the share again.
Okay. Okay, great. That's better. So so that gives you you can see how in a bit more detail in this the larger picture. So if Michael, if you can move on to the next design, which should be swale. Yeah, swale. So this is our front cover image, knitted in bronzed, which is that lovely spicy chestnutty brown colour that we already have in the range. So this is a wide slouchy poncho jacket hybrid design with little sleeves and twisted rib front bands. I think this slouchy shape is becoming more and more popular within knitting. This sort of, you know, easy to wear, just to throw on that, you know, literally a throw on piece, but unlike ponchos with the little sleeves, it gives you some shaping and some draping as well, which is when it's worn, which I think, you know, these modern wide loose shapes, kimono-y slouchy shapes, are very flattering because of the lovely drape effect they have when you're wearing them. The hem and the cuffs, again, both in the cable and wiggle lace stitch as the previous design, the How design, texture and detail, and again the twisted rib front bands, both worked in with the main body. I tend to use a twisted rib when I'm working button bands because I think it just gives the actual band some structure. So this again, it's sort of quite a nice flattering length, just sort of like comes to the you know, the lower hip point, and I think this is sort of, I think there's 3 or 4 sizes in this. It's sort of quite generously sized anyway. Moving on to the next slide, if I could ask Michael, we've got plover. So again, another simple piece within this collection, but all knitted in feather, which is that very soft pale taupe colour, again, which we have in the collection. So this is very much a relaxed, boxy, casual fit sweater worked in all over seed stitch or moss stitch, or however you like to call it. Semi-fitted sleeves and simple stocking stitch rollover edging detail on the ribbed hem, cuffs and neck. So you can just see the neck is just finished with a little rolled edge. You can't quite, and on the cuff as well, to the left image there. Just that sort of gives a little bit of that Guernsey detailing I was talking about earlier from Fisherman. So it's just really nice and slouchy and easy to wear, not too overly sized, but just an easy, relaxed piece. So moving on to our next slide, which should be Harriet, I think. So so we have a couple of designs in Harriet. We have the Harriet sweater, which we have featured here, and also a poncho, which Bob from I see is working on a Harriet poncho for the shop. So both Harriet designs are worked in a Guernsey stitch detail, but updated with some moss zigzag panels in between rows of little cable and ladder effect panels. So they're all sort of taken from traditional, you know, Guernsey fishing net patterns that you see on the coast, the fishing ports of Great Britain. The Harriet sweater is knitted in nutmeg, which is the deeper taupe colour, a classic fit, longer length, 70 centimetres, 27.5 inches length, dual or unisex size sweater. So it's slightly, you know, it's designed for both men and women, or well, for everyone basically. Again, the rib neck band is finished with a stocking stitch rolled edging as well, which you can just see in the and also I should say the actual there's a bit of plain stocking stitch in the lower border before you actually go into the Guernsey stitching, which is quite a traditional way of working Guernseys. I think as well, that was designed so they could put the initials of the actual guy or woman who was wearing it into that sort of stocking stitch border, which I haven't done on this. I've just left it plain, but should you wish to put your initials in, then please do so. So that's the sweater version. The poncho version will be coming up in a later slide. So if we can move on to our next slide, which should be the birdhouse. Oh, sorry, Harriet poncho. Sorry, that's come up in the next slide. Yeah, so again, knitted in gooseberry, which is a softer green, which is a shade we a lovely soft pale limey green colour. Very, very simple but flattering wide poncho and edged in moss stitch that's all worked in with the main body. So it's a wider rib, a wider neck detail, but with the same stocking stitch rolled edge. There's no actual, the shoulder stitches are left on holders and then grafted together, so you get that nice sort of ridge that you get on a traditional Guernsey, which I can show. I've got the sample here, so I can show you that. So it's just a very easy, again, to wear piece, and it's that length where it just comes to the to the lower hip, so it's a really nice coverall piece, and it's not too long in the arms as well, so you're not sort of having to pull it up when you're doing your shopping or whatever. So it's just yeah, and I think this particular one shows shows the stitching really nicely. There's a zigzag patterning down the center. So moving on to our next slide. The birdhouse. So this is one of the colourwork pieces that I've designed for this particular collection. So the birdhouse, so we have a couple of versions shown here. So we have the colourwork version in the pewter grey and feather to the left of the screen, and then the plain version without the colourwork in the beetroot red with the 2 colour ribs and button bands worked in beetroot and feather. And also this cardigan, I've designed it because I've had a lot of feedback about, I do this shape quite a lot because I think it's such a really cute, classic little shape. It's sort of like what I call a little twin set cardigan. But a lot of people are saying, they want something a bit longer. So I've designed it so it's a sort of classic shorter length, 50 centimetre, 20-inch length, and then a slightly longer 58 centimetre, 23-inch length. So it just comes a bit more down to the hip. So the choice is yours. So you can do plain in both, and you can do colour work in both, depending on how you would like to wear it. So I've designed the colour work version with a lower front and back border of like quirky, charming little birds, flowers and bird houses. So this is me looking at sort of folk, Scandi folk cross stitch, and just putting my stamp on it. Just a little I always like to do something a little different from your traditional Fair Isle colour work. You're probably aware that I quite like quirky imagery, and both cardigans are classic fitted sleeve designs for a more tailored look. So if you're wanting something neater and tailored, this is a really nice design, as opposed to the cardigans and the sweaters we saw earlier in the presentation, which are more easy, relaxed fit. This is something a little bit neater, and so you have nicely fitted across the sleeve head and fitted across the shoulders. And I think just having that 2-colour rib as well gives it just a point of difference from it just having a plain 1-colour border. So as somebody just said, this would make a great throw edging. Yes, and if you had a plain throw, you could put this 2-colour rib border onto something like that. It is a bit laborious, that 2-colour rib, because you're having to keep you're purling and knitting, so you're having to keep swapping your yarns to the back of the work. So that's why I've done it just as a fairly narrow border, so you don't you don't go crazy trying to knit it, but it has a really nice effect, has that nice corrugated effect, and it gives a bit of stability, particularly for button bands as well. So moving on to our next slide. which is whisk. So this is one of the shawls wraps that I featured in this particular brochure. This is a slip stitch design, mosaic design in a zigzag pattern. This is knitted in the turmeric yellow, quite a nice sort of spicy yellow, and the deep pewter grey. So it's a wide wrapping scarf design with the, as I say, the all over slip stitch zigzag pattern. And actually, when I was doing this presentation for the first time, I realized that zigzags very much feature through in this brochure. So I think I was having a bit of a zigzag moment when I was designing this. But I think that ties, having something like that, ties a brochure to a collection together, having something that features throughout. I mean, we've got zigzags in the Guernsey and we've got zigzags happening in the accessories as well. It's just a nice it just gives the collection a bit of a flow. So as I was saying, this is a mosaic style pattern, which some of you will be familiar with, where you're working 2 rows of each colour. You're not actually carrying both yarns across every row, and the colour work is affected by just slipping the colour, the stitches of the previous 2 rows. So you're just slipping the colour of the previous 2 rows to get the pattern effect. Difficult to explain and to actually knit it, and then it sort of all makes sense. So it's actually doing the work of colour work for you, but without the headache of it. There's no stranding or twisting yarns or anything at the back of the work, as you would get in stranded Fair Isle colour work. So it's quite a generous wrap. There's another colourway in this as in the new colours, and I can show you. I've got a swatch here of my original swatch. I did it in the beetroot and the pewter grey, so it just gives it a different look. And also, I think this would make a great men's piece as well, because a lot of this was designed with men in mind as well. But I'll show you that in a bit more detail at the end of the presentation. Then moving on to our next slide. Oh, somebody's doing it in the beetroot and pewter, which is exactly what I've done in my swatch. So we've got the Basset collection here. There's 3 Basset designs. The Basset scarf, which to the left of your screen, the Basset cowl, the main image in the centre, and the Basset hat. So all these are worked in the round in a traditional checkerboard or plaid effect. So it's sort of looking a bit to our sort of like Scottish heritage as well here. This is a stranded colour work design and worked entirely in the round on 4 double pointed needles or circular needles. And the chart itself is a very small 14 stitch by 14 row repeat, which just repeats throughout. So once you've got that repeat in your head, you're not having to think about changing the actual plaid or the design as you go along. Again, something I'm trying to do more and more in colour work, not only knitting it in the round, but making sure that the repeat doesn't change throughout the pattern. Because, you know, when you've got to say, for instance, in this particular design, you've done your first 14 rows and then it changes again for another 14 rows and so on. It's very difficult. It makes it more laborious to knit. Whereas this, once you once you've got the repeat in your head, it knits up quite quickly. The Basset scarf and cowl. So the scarf and the cowl, the to the left, are both worked in the pepper, the turmeric, the yellow again, and ash, which is the very dark grey colour combination. The cowl is worked in the round and cast on, and cast off edges then slip stitched together, but you could do provisional cast on and Kitchener stitch together. The scarf, the ends are in the plaid design with a plain stocking stitch centre section. So you're only just doing the plaid at the very ends of the scarf. You can just see round her neck, it's gone into the plain pale grey. Obviously, if you want to knit it all in the plaid, then, you know, that would look very lovely too. But I just think it gives a bit of contrast having that plain section in the middle. And the scarf ends are worked in the 2-colour rib detail too that we've seen in we saw in the birdhouse design. So again, following through the 2-colour rib throughout this collection, which is it is quite a traditional Fair Isle stitch that's used a lot in the, you know, Shetland Isle knits. So our next slide is the hat. which we have a very nice version knitted in the green, and this is in the blues with the pepper. So we've got the blue moor, which is the rich peacock blue colour, the paler blue, and we have the ash dark grey as well as the pepper pale grey. The crown shaping I've worked in the plain stocking stitch, and I've added an optional pom-pom too. Again, the hat band is worked in the two colour rib pattern, and I've got the sample here so you can see that in a little bit more detail as well. So that's a great hat. I think it's another, again, design for men and women, or well, for everyone, and it's something that I would certainly wear. I might be hanging on to this sample for myself, actually, because particularly in this weather where you need a warm hat. And Kathy's just said, and it's so much fun to make. She's wearing the green colorway version. So that is the 3 bassets, and then we go on to moving on to our next slide. Thank you, Michael. The Kringle collection. So there's 2 designs in this, the Kringle designs, the Kringle jacket, which we featured here, and also the Kringle wingspan shawl. Both Kringle designs are worked in 3 repeating garter stitch blocks of 2 colours per row. So you're just knitting 2 colours of garter stitch all the way throughout. The paler colour runs all the way through, so you're only having to join in the colours for the block, the contrast colours for the blocks. The feather colour, which is the paler colour in the stripe, goes all the way through. The Kringle jacket is knitted in the blues, including the Oxford blue and blue moor shades. So this is a longer length, easy fit cardigan, 75 centimetres, 30-inch length, easy fit edge to edge cardigan. There's no fastenings. With narrow drop sleeves and front bands worked in the same two colour garter stitch. You can, I've got the sample here on the mannequin behind me, but you can probably just see where the colour block just very subtly changes, goes from the dark block at the lower edge, and then into the sort of paler blue, and then it goes into the darker blue around the shoulders, and then I've used the darker colour with the feather to do the front band. So in this particular instance, the front bands are actually picked up and worked separately. So this is one of the few pieces that you actually, because I think it just works nicely as a stripe, a vertical stripe edging going around in the design. So yeah, a very simple, it's just a variation of garter stitch, which is one of our most basic stitches in our pattern stitch libraries. Next slide, I think, might be the shawl version, the wingspan shawl. Yes, so this is in the blocks again. The feather, the pale colour running all the way through. Turmeric, which is the nice spicy yellow, the bronzed, which is the chestnutty colour, and tie, which is the darkest colour, and that's a very lovely rich dark green colour combination. Generously sized. I've made it quite, so you can wrap yourself 2 or 3 times in it, and it's also, the edges are worked as an I-cord stitch, so you've got that where you're slipping the last 2 stitches of every row purl-wise with the yarn at the front of work, and knitting these stitches on the return row too, so you get that neat rounded tubular effect edging. So it just gives you, rather than just having a finishing on a garter stitch edge, it's going into this tubular edging, which just makes it that much neater. And you can just see that you can sort of vaguely see the blocks repeating throughout this scarf. So you're starting off, as you do in a wingspan scarf, is casting on however a few stitches and then just increasing as you go along. So you're creasing in either side of the tubular edging. And this could also, if you felt this particular piece was you know, as you're knitting it, it's wide and long enough for you, then you would just stop and end it on the block. But I think it's nice that it's generously sized, because it's almost comes down to, you know, the knees. If you or you can wear it sort of slightly more ruched up around the neck as well. So that's the Kringle designs. The next slide is I've always got to put a cable in in my collection. So this is my classic cable Barlow, knitted in the Oxford blue, which is that nice sort of royal blue, rich royal blue colour. Again, like the Guernsey sweater, this is a classic fit, longer length, dual or unisex size sweater, with my twist on traditional cables, including, you guessed it, the zigzagging cable bordering a central trellis cable with a snake cable in between. So you can just see, you can just vaguely see. I haven't got the sample here, I've got the swatch, which I think will show you a bit more detail. So you've got that sort of traditional trellisy, ropey effect in the center panel, and that nice snaking cables running through, and then a zigzag as well to sort of mirror, to pick up the zigzag patterning in the Guernsey, and also in the wrap that we saw earlier. So it's this has a more of a fitted sleeve as well, and then a roll-over neck as well. But you could work it just with a crew neck if you didn't want the high neck. So again, just getting that nice classic fit in that works for everyone as well. Our next slide is, I think we're coming to the Bibby design, Bibby wrap, and also there's two designs. There's a sweater version as well. So both Bibby designs are worked in a slip moss stitch 4-row plain and stripe pattern repeat. Sorry, it's a bit of a tongue twister. I've got it written down here. To create the moss stitch stitch effect, you're slipping stitches purlwise with the yarn at the back of work on the right side, and the same on the wrong side, but slipping the stitches with the yarn facing you by bringing the yarn forward, slipping the stitch, then taking the yarn back to work the next stitch. So it's slipping stitch on the right side is quite straightforward. It's a bit more tricky on the wrong side row, but it's to give that really, as you can see, that very textured tweedy effect that you get in the stripe and in the solid colours. So you're working 2 rows for the stripes, you're working 2 rows of main colour, then 2 rows of contrast colour. So again, you're not actually having to carry yarns or anything across, being a slip stitch, and there's no stranding or weaving yarns at the back of work in order to do that. So it's it creates a really lovely firm texture as well, a little bit more laborious to knit, but I think it's, you know, once you've got the sort of rhythm of slipping the stitches, I think, you know, it's quite a nice friendly thing to knit. The wrap is it's an extra wide and long wrap, so it's quite generously sized. Again, I don't do anything by halves in my designs. So this is knitted in the 6 contrasting Moordale colours, but on the feather, the pale taupe main background colour, and in this textured slip stitch stripe mosh pattern. So I've used the existing colours in the stripes, but we've also done a version which Kathy has been showing on Instagram in the new colours as well. So these are using the turmeric, the Thai, the beetroot, and the blue moor colours within the stripes for this. I think the next one is our final slide in the designs, is the jumper version, the Bibby jumper. This is knitted in the same colour stripes as the wrap, but on the this is on the pepper, the pale grey background. So just changing the background colour from taupe to grey just gives it a slightly different look. It sort of slightly changes because you've got the background colour working through the stripes. It just gives it a slightly different look to it. Again, the classic longer length dual or unisex size sweater, and in the all over slip stitch. The sweater is 11 to 15 skeins depending on size. Thank you, Kathy, for mentioning that. I haven't got the skein information with me, and this is something I would wear definitely. You know, I think it's a great men's piece as well, as it looks beautiful on the model too. But this will be something that I shall be hopefully wearing in the winter months. And again, we've done a version that utilizes all the new colors in the collection. So I think the next slide is we might be with the new shades. Yeah, that's okay. So 6 new shades in the Moordale, which we launched in January. So we start at the top row, left-hand top row. We've got the French navy, which is a classic dark navy, great men's colour too. That's one of the reasons I want to put it in. And I wanted something that has the feel of that. I don't know if you may be familiar with our hand knit cotton range, but there's a really beautiful navy in there called Turkish Plum, and I wanted something that it's just so classic, and I think this would look lovely in, say, the Guernsey sweater or one of the plainer designs. And then to go with that, I introduced another darker slow colour, which is a colour in the centre of the top row of your screen. So this is a really dark, rich damson colour, and again, I think that just works well as a sort of well with all the brighter colours and as a standalone design as well. Some of the simpler pieces we saw at the beginning of the presentation look fantastic in this damson colour as well. I think it's very flattering. And then some more zingy colours, the orange peel, which is the top row right hand colour. So something a bit more fruity, citrusy orange. We've got the bronzed, which is sort of like, as I say, darker chestnut. So I felt we needed something a bit fruitier and juicier and, you know, more orange saturated colour. And then on the bottom row from left to right, we have the peony, which is a lovely deep magenta pink, very flattering pink. The pillar box in the centre, which is a bright tomato red. We've got the beetroot already, but that's quite a dark red, dark sort of intense red. I just wanted something a bit brighter and cleaner in the reds. And then finally pea, which is a very zingy, bright, leafy green. So it just lifts the whole palette up, I think, just having that injection of brights in there. And I think as well, because, you know, we've re-knitted some of these samples up in some of these brighter colours. It just changes the feel of it. So you can have it, you know, I think the Harriet poncho is in the gooseberry in the brochure, but we've had it re-knitted in the pea green. It just gives it a different look, completely different look. It's sort of, you know, you can have something softer and more classic, or something just putting in the pea green makes it look sort of more modern and up to date. So before I finish the presentation, I should say thanks to Georgina and Darren at Quail for the fantastic styling and photography and the fabulous studio sets. Of course, all these brochures now are being photographed in lockdown. It's very tricky. We don't have the luxury of being able to go on location and travel. So I think they made a fantastic job with the, you know, the styling with the bulrushes and grasses and everything in the studio. So I think that's worked brilliantly. So that's the end of the presentation. I'm just going to show you some of the actual samples in a bit more detail. Because then you can see this, you know, the colour work and the stitches and everything that I've been talking about. So this is the birdhouse. So this is the colour work version. So you can see the design, the little birdhouses with the birds and little stylized flowers border. So that's the back, and then it runs round onto the front. So you've just got the colour work in the border here. This is knitted flat, but it could be steeked because it's, again, it's repeated. around, you know, it's done to a certain repeat. So it could be done like, so you can see it's, and then you get a bit more impression of the knit one, purl one, two colour rib. So that's the bird house. I haven't got the plain version, but it's just the same without, basically without the border. The bibby, this is the just so you can see the slip moss stitch, so you can see how that works, and it gives it a really, really nubbly, tweedy, rich texture. And you can see even the wrong side looks quite nice as well, with the what you can see, it's carrying the yarns across the back. So it's very neat, you know, you're not having, there's not, you know, your wrong side is as neat as your right side. So just semi-fitted sleeves, crew neck, a really nice, simple, classic shape, which is, you know, sums me up a bit, really. I love texture, but I like it in a very not too over demanding silhouette. The kringle wingspan scarf, so that just gives you an impression of the color blocks here, the tie green, the bronzed, and the turmeric yellow, and you can just see that little I-cord edging, little stripy I-cord edging, which is quite a nice little detail. So it's very generous, this wingspan. So you might want to you might decide you want to end it a few blocks before, you know, before the end of the pattern. But I think you know, I like things to be generously sized, scarves and wraps and everything. I don't like them to be mean and, you know, probably because I'm 6'4", I need everything to be slightly over exaggerated anyway. So that is, again, it's sort of cast on. You can see from the swatch here, my original swatch, cast on here, and then it's just increased on the increase edge here. So that's the 3 blocks that repeat all the way through. The jacket version here, you can just see, sorry, the blocks, we're starting with the darker, going into that nice peacocky blue, and then ending up on the rich royal blue. We've got another version, which I can't remember what the colorways are, that in the new colorways as well. But you know, the choice is endless. You could all knit it in one color as well. You're just in the, you don't have to do the blocks. Similarly, on the kringle shawl, you could do it just all in your favorite color combinations. You could start introducing quite, you know, deep pinks and oranges together, and think, you know, the choice is endless. I'm trying, so, you know, it means there's not too much tweaking to make it look very, very different. Some of the simpler pieces, the over tunic, so you can just see the that's the cable and lace effect that goes on the cuff and the hem edging, and then it's got, and there you can see the rib, twisted rib band. So all the shaping is done, decreasing is done either side of the band, and the band is knitted in. So that's just a really nice, and it's, you know, Moordale being so beautifully soft to wear too. The swale jacket, the jacket that's featured on the front cover, again the same detail on the cuffs and the hem edge. So it's just a little drop sleeve, quite wide. So it's sort of that jacket poncho hybrid. But I think, as I say, just having the sleeves gives it a bit more structure and shape when it's worn. That's in the bronze. That's the very chestnutty colour, which is a really beautiful colour. The plover seed stitch relaxed fit sweater, sort of more boxy sweater with a semi-fitted sleeve, and then you can just see the stocking stitch rollover edging on the neckband and the cuffs, and around the welt as well, 2x2. So it just, you know, again, a very, I think as well, you know, it's an all-age piece, I feel, that one really, and can be made longer should you, if you want it to be a longer, more classic length. Obviously, you just add more length into the body before the armhole shaping. The poncho, the Herriot poncho, with the Guernsey stitch in the gooseberry. You can see they're just done a bit of traditional Guernsey detailing on the hem edge, going from the garter stitch into a 2x2 rib, then plain stocking stitch, then into the actual stitch work itself, the zigzag and the ladder and the baby cable, and then you've just got the moss stitch knitted in with which create the edgings, and then you can see the where the shoulders being grafted together. You get that nice, neat grafted line across the, which I think that's how all Guernseys are traditionally made. The shoulders are grafted together, so you get that nice ridge effect, and wider neck with the roll over edge. But yeah, I think that's poncho. I say it's a very nice shape because it's a knife's length, and it finishes at the right point on the on the arm as well. The whisk wrap. So this is the turmeric and the pewter version. So you can see that mosaic effect that you get with this particular slip stitch. It gives it a little bit more texture interest as well than just a fur piece. And I think that again, the color combinations. Somebody mentioned they were make it in the pewter and the beetroot, so that's the version I did originally for the swatch, and I think that's because again I had it sort of menswear in mind as well for this, to wearing it, and it's something that I will definitely, and you could do it in the dark and the pale grey for a more monochrome effect as well if you wanted something more neutral. But then of course you've got all the new really bright, the pea greens and the greens and everything that would look fantastic in something like this as well. Then just finally the basset, a couple of basset pieces. The hat which Kathy's wearing in the green, this is in the blues, the blue mer with the two greys, so you can just get a bit more of impression of and you can see I've just put the shaping into a plain crown here, and the two colour rib. So that again for design for men and women. Sorry, I just missed that last comment. Somebody said, what's the name of the striped shawl? The striped shawl is called Kringle. And then this is the cowl version with the turmeric worked in. So it's a bit of a play on Scottish plaid, really, but a very nice. This, as you can see, it's worked in the round and then just the ends are just slip stitched together, and also it's designed so you can wear it twice around the neck as well for a bit more of a closer fitting cowl. So that, I haven't got all the sample pieces here, but that just gives you some idea of the styles. This is the swatch for the cable, so there you can just see the needle size for the hat. I think it's all done on 4mm. The trim was done on 3 and 3.25 millimeters, and then the hat is the main part of the hat is knitted on 4mm for the colour work, as is the cable is on 4mm. So that just gives you an idea of the cable pattern with the central trellis and the snake cabling, and the it's like 3 zigzag cables cable together going through. That it's in the blue color in the magazine, but this is in the nutmeg, which is quite a nice color. Yeah, just that is the Guernsey stitch in the feather in the And so these are some of my original swatches that I put together. So you can see I've done this. The birdhouse is worked in the round. We were thinking about doing some accessories as well, but you could, because it's done so it can be worked in the round. You could make scarf with birds at either end, should you wish to be creative. So that sort of concludes the and the art. Sorry, just here's some of the hanks of the new colours. The slow. I'm afraid the screen doesn't show the colours off very well. It's sort of, but you can just get a bit of an impression. That's a slow. That's a French navy, which is much darker. It looks more brighter on here, but actually it's much, there's much more black in the colour. The pea green, which is quite a very vibrant green. The orange peel, which actually, again, it looks a bit duller on the screen, but it's a really nice intense orange. And the magenta pink as well, really nice. So I think all those, I haven't got the pillar box red for some reason, but I think they just work together as a group with a brighter red. That's a really nice alternative to the more subtle colours that we've already got in the colour range. So at this point, is there any more questions? I don't know. I haven't. Jan, have you been looking at anybody wanting to?
Yes, I think nope, just all wonderful comments, Martin.
Okay, good. So nobody's actually love the orange combined with the pink. Yes, I think that would look nice within the some of the design, used in some of the stripes and the like the zigzag scarf as well. So you get some really more funkier, quirky color combinations. If we haven't got any questions just at the moment, I might move on to, I don't know what we're doing, how we're doing for time. Oh gosh, I've talked for nearly an hour. Just to give you, just to round up with the sneak peek of the cowl, the knit along, knitted with love is the theme for this. So it's a gift giving theme, or you can knit it for yourself, but it's so designed so there's a few more choices of there's more choice in projects. I always do a big throw. This is my sketch for the throw, which you probably can't see very well, but it gives you an idea of there's hearts going on within this project. So there's a larger throw, which is pretty much similar size to ones I've done previously, the last 3 I've done, but I've also done a smaller cot size throw as well, because I just felt that, or it could be just a smaller throw for a chair or something, because I think it's good to have that option. I'm trying not to give too much away here, and then there's actually 6 cushion options as well in this, and so the different combinations of the hearts and everything. So what I'll just give you an idea of the squares. There's 8 squares all together, and they're going to be released over 10 weeks because there's an optional trim and making up and tutorials as well that go alongside that. So I've worked the actual knit along is worked in the alpaca soft DK. I don't know if any of you have knitted with that, a really lovely soft DK that we've had in the range for a couple of years now, and there's some great colours in that now. So I just I've done 3 in the pure wool worsted, which have worked very well, but I just wanted something, I just felt that the alpaca soft worked better colour wise for what I was thinking of doing. So we've got, there's 8 squares, 4 texture and 4 color work. So, and they're all, they're all work joined together within in the same design, or as I say, and the cushions I've done them so we've changed. You can have a cushion which is just all texture square, a cushion that's all color work square, and then put cushions that are a combination of the both as well. The swatches, these are the prototype swatches, so there's been a bit of tweaking going on because obviously I had to adjust for tensions and everything to make it work. The colour I've knitted them in the in the nice green, which is completely slipped mine. Autumn gold colour is sort of the main feature of some of the projects in there. So I'll just run you very quickly through the textured one because I know time's running out. Textured squares and the colourwork square. So we've got nice heart lace and bobble square. Again, we'll have tutorials for knitting these as well because there's a few instructions within the heart in this particular one that you might not be familiar with. Just a very plain, more geometric heart lace design, cabled. Again, tutorials for this because there's quite a lot of knitting involved in that. And then it wouldn't be me without a little beaded version as well. Then the colourwork hearts, there's 4 hearts. We've got the floral heart and a more rose heart in this, and a the floral ones, these are just to show you in the different colours as well, and the greys and the bricky colours as well, which are going to feature. I've used the dirtier cream as well as a contrast in a lot of these because it just gives it a more vintage sort of softer look as well than the cream. The cream was just a bit harsh and more sort of like simple modern heart. And then finally, this is one of the things that actually was something that I wanted to do for this particular one is you can it's back to front and it actually says R and Y here, which is for Rowan Yarns, just for sake of having some initials. But this is so designed so you can put your initials or your loved one's initials or how many initials you want to put in there, so it becomes much more personalized. So if it was for say for a christening or a newborn baby, you could put the initials of the newborn baby in, and the parents and the siblings as well. So I think it's quite nice that it's got that option as the fact that it's more personalized. Just quickly, one of the cushions in the lovely magenta, so you can see how the squares are working together in combination. So this is one of the options in that, which I think is a really nice strong color. I shot this collection just the other day and I had 6 cushions all in different color combinations and they just look absolutely fantastic together. You can't get a good impression. And actually this is to show you there's an optional trim on these as well. This is just like a shark's tooth edging that I've used for some of the cushions and the throws, but you don't necessarily have to knit this. This is just something that you can add on after, but I've just quite nice having that contrast. So the premise is that sort of the heart is, hence the name, knitted with love, because I think that's what we all need a bit at the moment in these tricky times. We all need a bit of love and comfort, and I think as well it's a great project to knit, if we're having to stay at home more and enjoy crafting at home. So yeah, so that's just sorry, that's a very quick sneaky peek at what's coming up in May. So do look out for that on social media and Facebook and on the rowan.com website. I think it begins sort of in the middle of May. There'll be a shopping list that will come up first, so you know what you need to yarn wise and needle size and any other accessories that you need as well. And then the first square, I think we're starting with the I'm not sure we're starting with the colorwork squares and then going, I think we start with the colorwork squares because they're all sort of fairly similar as in terms of knitting, and then we go into the textured squares for the final set, which we will, as say, doing tutorials for, because there will be some particularly creating things like the cabled heart, how you're making and decreasing the stitches, which needs a bit of we need to have more specific online instructions for doing that. So yeah, please, as I say, do keep an eye out on for that, and I hope you will hope you will be tempted to take part, even if it's just knitting a cushion. I would be very happy to see that. So yeah, that'd be great. Okay, anything else to? Anybody else wants to ask me anything? Sorry, I should be checking. A scarf with hearts would be great with the heart squares. Yes, that would be very nice as well. I've never done a cal, but we'll join this one. Thank you, Martin. Yes, can't wait to take part. It will be on my birthday gift list. Maybe it's in May. So
Well,
yeah.
Thank you for the sneaky peek, Martin.
Yeah, pleasure.
I put in the comments that this is I think it's the very first sneaky peek we've done globally, unless you've shown it on the other platform.
No, you're the first to see it as well. Oh, I forgot to mention we have. Sorry, I haven't got them to hand here. I thought they're packed away, but we've got a soft yak option for this as well. So if you didn't want the woolliness of the alpaca soft, we've got the nice cool cotton of the soft yak as well. So everything is available. We've suggested color. I've suggested colors in the soft yak, and we have shot some of the cushions in the soft yak as well. So we've got that option because, of course, we're getting a lot more feedback about, you know, like my carousel designs in the alpaca soft DK. You know, people saying yes, I'd love that, but I want cotton. So and soft yak is one thing. It works perfectly tension wise and color wise to a certain extent. It gives you a slightly softer look being in cotton. You don't get that you don't get quite as graphic a look as this, but you do get a very nice soft, because we don't have a pure cream in the soft yak. We've got that sort of more marley light, very pale gray, which I've used as a contrast color for the hearts. So but it still looks very, very beautiful. You'll see that when that'll all come up as well. At the beginning of the when we actually bring it online. So do keep an eye. Yes. So sorry. Yes, I forgot to mention the both options there. Okay. Jan, I don't know if you have anything else I should mention.
So Kathy, how about over to you?
So I just want to make a couple comments about this collection from Martin, because I will be loading the pattern singularly on the website, but I got to tell you, you really need to buy the book, because singularly the patterns are $7 and the book is only $15, and there is not a bad pattern in this book.
Thank you.
There's just not. And also, I think if you have never done color work, this is a great book for color work, because there's so many techniques to get you started. And even the Basset hat, I think, is a perfect beginner project for stranded color work, because you don't have to worry about the floats. They aren't long, so you don't have to trap long floats. And it's a very easy chart to memorize. And I am not one for working from charts a lot because I get confused. But with color work charts, I just draw them out and color them with colored pencil. So I've got it in a notebook, and then I go around, and it's so easy. And I think for the Basset patterns, I think they're great for beginner color work patterns.
Yeah, I'd agree. Yes, I completely agree. Yes, I think that's what I'm, as I was saying in the presentation, trying to encourage more color work knitters by having something that's not too challenging to memorize and to work. And I think because the Basset is actually just blocks of color, you just work knitting squares it's just squares of colors basically. Once you've got the idea of knitting the square, that you can't go too wrong really. It's not sort of like the birdhouse where you creating the birds, you're having to concentrate more on knitting on something that's just squares, which is one of the simplest, one of the sort of more simplest things to achieve in knitting. I think that works very well, as you say, for a beginner knit. So yeah, I would encourage people to buy the book, because you've got all the slip stitch techniques as well going on in there for the bibby and the whisk patterns as well. So that's another great introduction to slip stitch color work knitting. So yeah, it would be it'd be great to just go the extra mile and buy the book.
Yeah.
And it's cheaper than buying these patterns individually, as you said.
It really is.
So,
Martin, I want to thank you so much for joining us today.
pleasure.
It has been a great pleasure.
Thank you.
And if you guys, there are kits loaded on the website, and of course the individual skeins of Moordale yarn. The books are loaded on there. If you want to put some color combinations together and you're not sure, just give us a call or send us an email. We will be more than happy to help you put something together. And if you're local, stop in and we can help you Wednesday through Saturday. There is also a giveaway with purchases. If you purchase between now and the 21st, anything from the either Moordale Yarns, the kits, or the books that are on the website, $60 minimum purchase, you will get either a Rowan Notions pouch or a Rowan project bag. The code for the website is Moordale. If you do have to load the project bag or the Notions bag into your cart and then use the code. If you forget, it's okay, because I'm the one who checks all the orders and fills them, so I will get it to you regardless, if you put it in or not. And it is a while supplies last promotion. So we hope that you have gotten some great inspiration today as we head into February, a year of pandemic. And hopefully it will be over soon, and hopefully signs of spring will be coming soon, and we'll get out of this and visit each other again. So thanks for stopping by and sharing this with us today.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you as well. I hope to see you all not in the virtual world at some point as well. Thank you.
Martin, this has been a real treat. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jan. Yeah, and thank you, Michael, as well, for the presenting the slides as well. Sorry, I forgot to say that at the end of the presentation. Yeah, okie doke, okie doke.
Thank you, Martin. You guys have a good day.
You too. Yes, thank you. Take care.
All righty.